Hey YouTube, my name is Jeff and welcome to the RetroPi Arcade Project mini-series. In this mini-series, I will be working on a case for a Raspberry Pi Model B Plus in my CAD system. I will then be 3D printing it, finalizing its design, integrating the RetroPi software into the Raspberry Pi, and then finally using it to emulate my favorite retro games from the Atari to the Nintendo 64. In today's episode, I will be showing off a time-lapse of the modeling process of the case. To make the case properly usable, I will be adding some access slots for the inputs and microSD card slot, and then some cooling vents to allow the Raspberry Pi's internals to properly be cooled. I started the case after grabbing a Raspberry Pi Model B Plus model off the internet. Once I got the proper measurements from the Raspberry Pi, I was well on my way to making an awesome case for the Model B Plus. To make sure the Pi glow I was going to add to the Raspberry Pi would be able to fit properly, I had to make sure to give the top of the case enough room so it wouldn't be squished. Since I planned to 3D print this case, I needed to make sure to have the case either use supports to prevent the IO slots from drooping, or make it so they're half on one part of the case and the rest are on the other. I ended up doing a mixture of both. The USB and Ethernet ports took up a good chunk of both parts of the case, but the HDMI port only needed a small little cutout in the top of the case. I wanted to be able to see the LEDs from the Pi glow, so I created some slots above the headers on the Model B Plus that would also function as ventilation holes. Once the ventilation holes were added and the case was test fit on the model of the Model B Plus, the case was finally completed, and depending on how the 3D print comes out, I will either be optimizing it for a secondary print, or be dropping in the Raspberry Pi and be booting up the RetroPi software. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video, where I will be 3D printing the case and preparing it for the Raspberry Pi's installation. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome 3D modeling and printing videos.